Alright, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics, and in this video we're going to be talking about wealth and storage of value. Okay, now when it comes to wealth, as your wealth goes up, obviously you would need some sort of an asset to store that value. Okay, people choose bonds, stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, segregated funds, all sorts of investment products to store that value. Okay, however, how can you figure out which one to use? Okay, well, the answer lies in three factors. Okay, number one has to do with liquidity. So let me write this down over here. Liquidity. Number two has to do with rate of return. Okay, and number three, okay, this has to do with risk. All right, so when it comes to liquidity, we talked about liquidity in the past. It has to do with cash flow. Okay, how liquid are your assets? Okay, say for example, if you have land and building as investments. Okay, these are not liquid assets because it takes a long time for you to sell these investments. It takes a long time for you to list the land or building and sell it. Okay, just like a land and building, you also have furniture. So furniture may take a long time to sell as well. Okay, especially if it's used furniture. Okay, now contrary to these three, you also have accounts receivable and cash. Okay, now accounts receivable and cash are liquid. Why? Because you don't need to sell anything really. Okay, at the end of the day, you have the cash in your bank. When it comes to accounts receivable, you simply have to collect your accounts receivable. Okay, so these are liquid investments, okay, because the cash flowing into the business is flowing in fast. You don't need any sellers. You don't need any buyers, okay, to sell your products. You don't need any buyers to buy your products, as a result of which cash flowing into the business is relatively easy. All right, so these are liquid assets. And when you have liquid assets, okay, obviously it's easy to invest in inventory. It's easy to pay off your operating expenses. It's easy to invest in investment products, which is good for business. And that's the reason why many people choose liquid assets for storage of value when it comes to their wealth. Now, apart from liquidity, you also have rate of return. Now, rate of return has to do with, okay, the return on your assets. We talked about rate of return. Okay, we did some calculations relevant to rate of return. So this has to do with how much you're getting on the principal that you invest. Okay, so say for example, if you invest in investment products such as mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, or bonds, how much are you getting at the end of the year? Okay, that's your rate of return. So this is rate of return. All right, now apart from rate of return, you also have risk. All right, so what is risk? So risk has to do with, okay, how much risk are you taking to invest your investment? Okay, how much risk is there in the investment product? Okay, so we talk about ETFs, for example. Some ETFs, depending on what they're made up of, okay, they might be less riskier than the others. Okay, so if the ETF holdings are banks and insurance companies, they're probably less risky than some of the other corporations and companies out there. Okay, as a result of which, the third factor has to do with risk when it comes to storage of value. Okay, so these are some of the factors that you have to consider when you want to make investments, when you want to invest or transfer your wealth, okay, into a medium that stores value. Okay, that will be it for this video. On behalf of Electronics, this is Ubaid. Have yourself a great day.